What's up, boys? I haven't made a YouTube video that's related to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Or really anything Yu-Gi-Oh! In forever. But I have finally figured out a way to make one video per week that is the community tier list update slash power ranking. Overall, I'm just going to call it the DLE meta report. And just every week, I'll come on here, one video a week, and talk about the metagame. Excuse the mess in my room. I'm in the process of packing up a few things. In a few months, I'll be moving. So I'm a very slow packer. So things are going to be messy until that time. Sorry. Not sorry. Anyway, let's talk about how we're doing the new tier list slash power ranking, what I have changed, what I have made, and my reasoning behind those changes. Again, to reiterate, this will be a weekly video series. The Community Tier List Committee, or the CTC for short, are the top 10 players that were on the leaderboards. Right now, we only have 5 committee members. That's because when I first started the committee, we only had a couple of battle phases under our belt, and we had mostly $30 single elimination best of 1 tournaments, and I didn't want to commit 10 players if we didn't have those best of 3s kind of lined up to show who truly is on top. But I am confident of the $300, $500, and $100 tournaments that we have done, that 5 players at minimum is good, and wanted to kind of go in from there. So 5 of the best players voted on what they think the tier list is, and then we have our power rankings in the second half of this video to kind of compare and see, kind of how accurate they are, or what the data kind of shows towards everything. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe. GN made these graphics. They're awesome. Let me introduce to you guys the 5 starting members of the committee. We have El Soon, who was the winner of Damage Step, a $300 prize event. We have Ali Yeah, who was in second place. Bishox, who topped the tournament. Juan, who is in a load of our tournaments, including Damage Step. And Twitch Proffer, who was actually in 6th place, but was the substitute as the 5th member did not want the position, so it went to him. All members did very well in best of 3 tournaments as well as best of 1 tournament, so they have pretty good knowledge on both sides of the argument to be had. Without further ado, let's get into the tier list itself. Oh my goodness. This is what everyone voted on. Let's talk about the individual decks. Tier 1, hey, it's Phantom Knight. I think everyone universally, I believe this was universally accepted by all of the players, that Phantom Knight is just straight up the best deck. There's you'll see later, even in like power rankings and stuff, there's just no way to argue that this deck is not the best deck. It's extraordinarily consistent. Putting up a turn 1 negate is very, very powerful. This deck has a lot of ups and not that many downs. Fully agree. Infernoid making a nice tier 2 representation here. Infernoid, it's the same old as it was. The ban list really didn't hit them. They're still extraordinarily powerful. They flip up Feast, and the duel is probably over. Mech Knight is actually a little bit newer this week. When the ban list first hit, everyone thought Mech Knight, including myself, was dead, but they have had really, really, really good tournament results lately, and a lot of people have been picking up Mech Knights and mixing Mech Knights with Salads and other decks. I've even seen Mech Talkers kind of become a thing. So it's a deck that can be played pure or on its own and still easily clap. Black Rose Dragon coming in at that tier 3. This one was actually heavily contested. Not a lot of people. This one, I believe, was actually, let me double check. Yes, was actually the one that I had to come in and do a tiebreaker for, which hopefully in the future, when we have 10 members instead of 5, I won't have to do that anymore. But, just be aware that there was a tiebreaker that I had to break here. Some believed it was tier 3. Some believe it's going to be rogue tier. This will be a very interesting one to keep your eye on in the future to see if it does indeed drop off. But they did make second place in Damage Step, so they definitely have, I think they're the highest points on the power rankings, which we can check later in the video. But it's no joke. It's no joke deck, that's for sure. It has some real power behind it. And then Code Salmon Great. People call this deck all sorts of things. Code Salad, Salad Talkers. Also, why aren't we calling this deck Coleslaw? Can someone answer that question? That I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Coleslaw is the perfect name for this deck. That I'm gonna push for the community to call it that. Come on now. Very, very strong deck. I personally think it's the strongest talker slash salad deck. Salads being able to spam as many monsters as possible, while co-talkers are actually able to summon good, powerful monsters, is very, very strong. They just cover each other's weaknesses very, very well. And definitely this variant is the one that I think is the best variant, if you want to talk about that. A couple of rogue decks that perform very well that the CTC agreed on. We won't spend too much time with them, but Mermail, Atlantean, Water XCs, whatever you want to call them, still a pretty good OTK deck, even without Moray of Greed. Code Talker, just pure Code Talker with Topologic spam or Firewall spam. Very, very good in the meta. We just think that mixing it with something like Salmon Great is better. DDD is still extremely powerful, but extremely inconsistent. It doesn't really put up the results to kind of tier, but definitely a threat that you have to consider when playing in tournaments. Burning Abyss. Burning Abyss is one of those decks where it's very easy to misplay in, and they will easily punish your misplays without any care in the world. And then Odd Eyes, Pendulum Dragon. I feel like Odd Eyes always shows up after a ban list, and they are here again. They're able to spam a whole bunch of monsters and kill you in a single turn, and you just got to respect it in the tournament scene. Now, as far as comments from the CTC members themselves, I'm going to read a couple of comments that they say. We're going to start with Elsoon. Elsoon says that essentially he thinks we have a 3-deck meta right now, Infernoid, Mech Knight, and PK, but that Code Salads also add a level of volume to the meta and clinches a tier 3 spot. Then we have a bunch of really strong rogue decks that competes very well in the meta and performs especially well in tournaments and sometimes even in leagues, as we have seen in the recent couple of weeks. There's Elsoon's comments for you. We have Duon, who says Infernoid in a no side deck format feels like a tier 2 deck, but with side deck they aren't that great. So I would put them at a tier 2.5, high tier 3. I'm not sure if Rose Dragon is good enough to be tiered. I think it's just hype because of unnerfs, but it got some results. So for now, I would put it at tier 3. Code Talker could potentially be tier 3, but Rogue seems okay for now. Water XC seems decent in theory, but they haven't really proved it yet. A few comments from Twitch Proffer says Goki tier 3. I think Goki could return to tier 3 with the main event, an expendable die. We actually don't have Goki anywhere on here. They unfortunately did not have that deck to be voted for, but maybe, potentially, we'll have to see how Goki fares in the following week. We also have comments from Bisho X. Phantom Knight is placed as the undisputed tier 1 because they can set up a consistent field thanks to its ability with turn 1 Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon or infuse pressure with the turn 2 Phantom Knight of Break Sword, which can be lethal to strategies. Very true. And then Allier coming in at the end saying Madolche. So 2 of the members believe in 2 more decks in Goki and Madolche. We'll have to see if those decks make it to at least rogue level or maybe even tiered by some of their standards. We'll just have to see. We don't know. I wanted to also bring in some tournament results. These are 2 tournaments, Battle Phase 448 and Battle Phase 449. As a note, Battle Phase 448 was double elimination. This format will be renamed to Damage Step in the future, so don't be too confused about that when you see it in the future. But for right now, I'll refer to Battle Phase 448 just for reference when people are looking at decks. You can see Phantom Knight overwhelmingly the most played deck with Rose Dragon and Code Talker in 2nd and 3rd place, respectively, as well as Infernoid and all those decks as we go down. Transitioning into the top 32. I know it says top 16. Graphical error. I never downloaded the top 32 graphic. It's still top 16. Just know that this is top 32 in a double elimination. You could see overwhelming Phantom Knight, which just kind of makes it a clear tier 1 deck, in my opinion. And the other decks are just kind of fighting for whatever is left in the scraps. You can see Rose Dragon, Infernoid, and Burning Abyss kind of holding their own. And then more recently, we had the $500 449 tournament. Again, Phantom Knight's overwhelming, but Mech Knights, very importantly, making a huge comeback in this specific metagame with the top 16. You can see Phantom Knights at the very top with Code Talker. I believe this was Salad Code Talker taking a huge amount of that top cut, and then Mech Knights still having 2 of the tops here while also winning the tournament. So keep that in mind. So there you go. That is the tier list and the talking about the tier list and their thoughts on the tier list. I wanted to go very quickly into power rankings. Power rankings will include all battle phases and damage steps, all best of 3 tournaments with the same power scale that we had before. So first place earning those 6 points, second place 4 points, all the way to top 8 for 1 point, and then damage step essentially doubling how many points you get and kind of keeping track. And the way we're going to do power rankings is we're going to have them be a seasonal thing. One season will last 1 month until the next major box or like mini or main box comes out, and we're just going to keep track of the points. So Phantom Knights, they're currently in the lead with 39 points. They're going to keep these 39 points until the end of the season, so you can kind of see how things move up within the top 8 tournament scene. So Phantom Knight easily on top. Black Rose Dragon, because they were second place in damage step, had a huge amount of points to keep in. You've got Mech Salads in 6th, Trains, normal mechs, and the rest kind of at 2 through 1 points. So super interesting to keep this in mind and see how far this list will kind of go in between each season. On top of that, we have main phases. Main phases are our best of 1 single elimination tournaments. And why I want to illustrate this is because this is the closest to KC Cup or ladder. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking, Rye, this tier list is dog shit because I play ladder, I play KC Cup, I don't play any of those. We're also going to keep track of the winning decks from all main phases. So as you can see, Phantom Knights in this time period since the new box has come out has won 4 times, Starry Night twice, Mech Knights twice, and then a whole bunch of one of decks. So super interesting that pretty much it's just super Phantom Knight dominated. It's the most consistent deck. Consistency is key when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! And it can put up a turn 1 negate. So, you know, it just makes it the best deck for best of 3, best of 1. Doesn't really matter, in my opinion. It's always just going to be the best deck. So there you go, boys. The DLE community meta report. We've got people on the leaderboards. All of our tournaments that you play in, whether it be best of 1 or best of 3 tournaments, will earn you leaderboard points. Earn enough leaderboard points, you earn a little bit of extra money at the end of the month, and you get to be on the community tier list committee to give your opinion on the tier list, as well as being featured in these videos. Thank you. Huge shout outs to these 5 members, and hopefully we can get up to 10 members by the time the next main or mini box comes out. That's all I have to really say. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week for another update video. Peace out, boys. Take it easy.